Ladies and gentlemen, guess what we had going on today? We had another taco trade occurring. Also, the president gave a speech at Davos and he mentioned crypto specifically. Also, at the Supreme Court, oral arguments on the Lisa Cook case began today. I got some things to say about that. And also, Kathy Wood of ARK Invest said that the Bitcoin bear market is almost over. Got to talk about all that, but I also have a very, very special guest here with me. That's all of you people that were guessing, none of you guessed it right here, so none of y'all were expecting, and you will be completely surprised. All this and more on, well, today's program is actually not called Shut the FUD Up. It's called Who the Hex Are You? Good afternoon, Hexico. We've got a lot to talk about here today. It seemed like today was going to be an incredibly bad day with the way that it started this morning, but it seems that it's gotten just a little bit better as the time has gone on. Looks like everybody has finally learned what Margaret Qualley is constantly telling us to do, which is
control yourself.
Because things are starting to look good again. The crypto market is returning, as Celine Dion sings.
It's all coming back.
So we'll be talking about that first thing here today is the taco trade that occurred just now. But I have a very special guest with me here today. That's right. Someone that none of y'all, not any one of y'all, had any idea was going to be on because, we didn't publicize it. But today's guest is going to really help me sort this stuff out of how do we stay positive with what looks like it could be a very hard couple of months ahead of us. Yeah. And I'll go over why I think we're going to have a very difficult couple of months here. I mean, let's just get into that right now. We've got a carry trade, a yen carry trade that continues to unwind. Treasury yields are going up all across the board at the long end. The economy is not getting better, it seems. The Clarity Act still hasn't passed. Many of the ideas that I'm hearing from our leaders are not good ideas. I was listening to the Supreme Court arguments today on the Lisa Cook situation, and I can kind of tell you guys right ahead, she's not going anywhere. So that whole Arthur Hayes prediction that, she's going to be out and Trump gets to pick another board, or governor for the board, that ain't happening. And worst of all, the money printer that we so desperately want is not popping. Not yet. So, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to persevere? How are we going to stay positive throughout all of this? Well, I brought in the experts on positivity. Some will even say she is our resident positivity princess, and also the voice of Scyive, and Richard's favorite girl. I bring with us a wild SJ. A wild SJ, welcome.
Hi, hello, everyone.
Yeah, it's so great to finally be on a live stream here with you. I think that we may have spoken in passing a few times on maybe some spaces or some conferences here and everything, but now it's the first time actually meeting you here in person. Great to meet you. You got the fur ball with you as well.
I do. I'm trying to get his attention, which is really easy when I've got snacks.
I say, yeah. What's the update on the Fuzzy there?
Well, he is about to be 6 months old.
Mm-hmm.
He's sweet and wonderful. He's getting he's got one more day with his balls. He's getting fixed tomorrow.
Oh my, poor thing.
Yeah, poor baby. And this just came in the mail. I'm very excited about this because I'm one of those cat ladies. So,
all right, you got a cat carrier backpack?
It's a cat backpack, yeah. So I like to go hiking, so he comes with me. I've got a harness and a leash for him already, but I think that's gonna level up the cat hiking experience.
Nice.
That's my life right now. I'm total cat mom. I'm taking that in, claiming it. Cat mom, positivity princess, Scyive queen, all the above.
Might actually be like some, I don't know, defense, a line of defense in case you run into wildlife out there, like a bobcat or something. You're like, oh no, 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 I'm not your enemy right here. Look at that, I'm even raising one of your own.
Yeah, exactly. They should
Hmm.
be friends, right?
That's what I'd be hoping right there because who knows, man, you run into all sorts of stuff out there. But one thing you could run into out there that I don't know if there's any defense from would be those coyotes, man. I'm like, what do we do when we run into a coyote?
A
I might need beer
legitimate
spray.
question, young man, deserving a legitimate answer. Now then,
Yeah. So his last day as a boy, and then he just becomes. What do we? Do we have like a specific gender term, I guess, for a neutered cat? Or
You'd be non-binary. Is that what happens?
is that like the halfway or something? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all right though.
Yeah. All right. So how about we do this? Like, I got a ton of questions for you about helping us stay positive, but what everybody's probably waiting for in the chat there is they're wanting us to run through the macro markets. You want to run through it with me?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say real quick, I appreciate that you do this because I don't pay attention to any of this stuff. I really don't. Like most of my life, I just try to live in ignorant, blissful oblivion to all these things. But I know that it's important, and especially when it comes to like our investments and what we are talking about here. So thanks for doing what you do because it helps me figure things out.
It is my pleasure, but I would also say I'm more envious of you because the people who know what I know, I mean, this information that we know here, it doesn't make us look too cool at parties, all right? And start talking about it on a date, you're basically guaranteed you're not getting a second date.
Womp womp.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to start with today. Here is taking a look at some of the coins I pay attention to here on Coin Market Cap, and well, this doesn't look too bad here. I mean, it looked really nasty and gnarly this morning, but now it's starting to look like
It's all coming back.
at least slightly. I mean, yeah, got Ethereum back above 3,000. I mean, when it went down lower, it basically gave up all the gains that it had this year. Bitcoin was looking like it was going to give up all of its gains that it's had this year. But now things are looking pretty okay right here. So basically the story was that everybody apparently was terrified of all these tariffs that are going to be on Greenland, and why that inspires anybody to sell their coins is beyond me. I don't remember reading anywhere in the white paper that, hey, if a president decides to put tariffs on a foreign country, you should sell all of your Bitcoin and all of your other crypto. Did you read that anywhere, SJ? Because I missed that.
Nope, did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then all the tariffs got called off, and so now things are starting to come back and look a little bit better. But as you can see on the weekly, they got quite a ways to go. Got a lot of ground to make up.
I'm not seeing your screen. Are we supposed to be seeing your screen share?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to put it on
There
presentation.
you go.
Thank you for catching that, or else I'd
Yeah.
everyone's be like, what are you talking about? Let's take a look at the assets that we do care about the most right here. We're talking about the Pulse Chain RH ecosystem. Even they got a little bit of green here today on the news. And I think this is largely due to just how heavily paired it is to Ethereum. Ethereum's going back up, and that pulls us up here with it because I seriously do not know anybody that would be interested in the RH ecosystem and would be thinking, oh man, I just can't invest just because of all these tariffs that are going to be on the whole European nations and the Greenland situation. And then immediately they're going to be like, oh, the tariffs got called off. Let me go buy some more Pulse Chain. Let me go buy some more Hex. I mean, I think if you're a believer in Pulse Chain and Hex, you're a believer regardless of what's going on in the geopolitics. Would you say the same thing there, SJ?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a lot of the reason why I get to stay positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what would be your assessment of what we've just seen right here with this price action? Would be your assessment of the market in general? Either you want to talk about like what's your assessment of the past year, or what's kind of your outlook for this year?
I'm hopeful, because here's the thing, like, it's not. I understand people's frustrations, right? I also understand that, tons of people got in early and are happy, like, maybe not happy, but like content with these prices, right? Like there's all sorts of people over the spectrum with where we're at and what's happening with the price action right now. What I do see is coins that are alive. You know what I mean? Like, they're not dead. None of it has gone to zero, right? Nothing's been abandoned. People feel that way, but I completely disagree with that sentiment. And I strongly believe that there are a lot of things that we have to look forward to, and it's just a matter of time, honestly. Hex is all about that. So that's the mentality that I came in with, and that's what I'm going to continue to believe moving forward.
All right, excellent. And Acid Thunder in the chat there, I saw your comment. Let me know if my sound sounds better, because I didn't have the microphone plugged in. All right, so yeah, I think we do have some we do have some good action ahead of us right here. But I also think we got a difficult time. We'll get into that later, though. Let's talk about Tradfi and Macroeconomy here. They had a good day based on the taco trade going on here. We see lots of green in the Dow Jones, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and even the Russell 2000. And here's what we really like to see is the volatility index went down 15%. When that is occurring, it just means that the world is going back to normal, so to speak. But take a look at this here. The bond yields on everything, well, the Japanese bonds going down a little bit in their yield, so we got a tiny bit less to worry about. Oil rising, that makes me nervous, but natural gas, look at that, up 29%. That makes me a little nervous, but who's going to be real nervous about that is Europe, because the entire European Union is in enough trouble already, and they require about 40 exajoules of natural gas, and they only produce 3 of them. So that's going to be trouble for them. Seems like the parabolic run that gold is on just won't stop. It hit $4,800 today. SJ, I bet you've heard this here a lot. Is like people say, well, Bitcoin can't do this because its market cap would be that, or Hex can't do this because its market cap would just be too high. At a certain point, these assets are going to mature and stop doing the incredible things that they do. You've heard that before, haven't you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually encouraged against all of that when I see gold doing what it's doing, because it's the oldest asset known to man. Mm-hmm. And it's the largest asset out there of like $30 trillion market cap. And it's still having parabolic runs like this. Maybe take a look at the gold chart. It kind of looks like Bitcoin in 2017. So if gold, something as old as gold can do that, imagine what something new like Hex and Pulse Chain can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look at this here. The U.S. dollar to Japanese yen relationship. I am monitoring that as close as I can because of the carry trade unwind. It seems like it's going to keep bouncing back and forth between 156 and 159. When it goes up to 160, that's the danger zone. But hopefully it doesn't get that. It doesn't go there. There were some stories here in Tradfi that I wanted to bring up. The Lisa Cook thing, I got to talk about that. Don't think there was anything else here on the front page. So, suppose you're one of these people that's either you do this for a living like I do, or you just have no life, or you're very masochistic to your ears and you love listening to boring stuff. Well, you probably listen to the Supreme Court oral arguments that were being heard today for the Lisa Cook trial. They're trying to remove her from the Federal Reserve so that Trump can put a new governor on the Fed Board of Governors, and that way he can get his 4-vote majority to lower interest rates or turn on money printer or get the monetary policy that he wants. It looks like, though, he does not have the authority to fire Lisa Cook, because listening to the Supreme Court, I mean, even the justices that you think would be in Trump's pocket were not hearing a lot of convincing argument today. Like Brett Kavanaugh himself seemed like he already knows how he's going to vote. He's going to vote in favor of Lisa Cook. But what was really sad was this fellow right here. The Solicitor General, John Saar, is one of the saddest, sorriest people you could have gotten to go up to the Supreme Court to make this case, because just listening to him,
He talks a lot like this here. This is the way his voice sounds when he has to make his case. He sounds like he's dying and everything, and you just want to not ask him any more questions so you don't have to hear his voice.
That's what it was like today. And he didn't put forth a very convincing argument, so it appears that there's going to be a more difficult pathway to go for there to be a 4-vote majority on the Board of Governors and for us to get that monetary policy that we want to have for crypto to do what it does. Take a look at the strength of the dollar. It had a little bit of a pop here today up against the other currencies. That's this DXY. Went down at the opening on the 20th. But then it was pretty normal today for like where it could have gone. Recovered a little bit of what it lost. This isn't quite the story yet, and I'm still thinking that like this goes back above 100 before it starts plunging. Last thing, well, second to last thing to show you here is the interest rate environment on these U.S. Treasuries. You can see that top line here, particularly over at the 10-year, is where the 4% start. And when you have the interest rates that high, what you got to view that as is that's the force of gravity in financial markets. So the higher those interest rates are, the stronger gravity is, and the more difficult it's going to be for any of our investments to go up. And right now, these treasuries and their yields are very stubborn, staying very high where they're at. Last thing to show you is an update on the Fed's balance sheet. This is the money printer that we want to have back on because this is what has pumped our bags previously. You might remember the good times of last cycle. Well, that started right here during this great big expansion of money printing. And then the bear market began in this downward slope and continued for so long as they did the opposite of money printing. Recently, they turned the money printer back on, and it looked like they were doing a lot of money printing. Then they undid a lot of it. And now they're doing a little more money printing, but it's a very slow pace. So wherever you see anything on X posting, oh, QE is back on, the money printer is going. I mean, does this really look like a very powerful addition to the money supply? I mean, SJ, you're looking at this here, but this here certainly looks very impressive. But what about this line right here over the past week? Does that impress you any?
No.
No. So money print is effectively still not on yet. All right. So now we want to turn our attention over to a wild SJ because I got some serious questions here on how are we going to get through the next few months. Because here's been, if you haven't heard my thesis, is like we need that money printer turned back on and humming at least a little bit like it was back in 2021. If we can get like even half of the power that we had then, that's good for us to get a real bull run where we're not arguing about whether we're in a bull run or not. Because that's what we're doing right now is people argue about, is the bull run still on or is the bear market begun? We wouldn't even be arguing about that, I think, if the money printer was humming along. But there's too many things that are standing in the way. This Lisa Cook situation is going to take a few months to resolve. The new chairman at the Federal Reserve, which we think might be Kevin Warsh, still, even if he gets confirmed, it's going to be a while before he can go in and exact policy. The Supreme Court still hasn't ruled on the tariffs, so there's a lot of uncertainty built up there. And then the legislation for the market structure, the Clarity Act, well, that still hasn't passed yet. So we're still waiting on that, and it's getting pretty frightening here because, maybe there could be another government shutdown that delays all of that. So there's so much uncertainty out there that has to be resolved. I see it getting resolved in the next several months, but I think it takes us all the way up until Q3 before we start feeling good about our investments again. And it's going to be a very tough couple of months to get through all of that. I don't foresee us still having these conversations, though, 6 months from now. I don't foresee us still having the conversation about, did we do the right thing? Did we do the wrong thing? Are we cooked or are we set for, we're bound for glory? I do see all of it being resolved or having like some certainty about that come July or so of this year. But it's going to be very hard to stay convicted. And it's going to be very hard to stay positive throughout all of that, especially very volatile days like we had today or these past few days. So I want to ask our resident positivity princess about how we are going to stay positive throughout all of that. Well, let's start with this question right here. Just in case someone had never heard of you before, they've been living under a rock, or they were a Hex hater and they didn't want to talk to anybody in the community. Suppose nobody knew who you are. What is the story of how a wild SJ got here and became the die-hard Hexican pulse chain positivity princess that you are today?
Man, it's such a trip to even think about how long how long ago that happened and how different my life is, and the trajectory. 5 years ago never would have in my wildest dreams thought I would be where I am today, talking about what I'm talking about and doing what I'm doing. I didn't, like, I knew about crypto 5 years ago. I invested a little bit of into Bitcoin in 2017, and this is pertinent to the story. So I invested then. A friend of mine from Austin, Texas at the time, who I only knew as Sweaty Dancing Larry because we went to drum and bass shows together to dance. And I had no idea at the time he was a KOL. So some of y'all know him as Crypto Kool-Aid. And he came to me, I think I'd probably posted on Facebook about it. And he was like, oh, I saw that you're interested in Bitcoin. You might want to take some of that and diversify it into, I think it was like Litecoin, BSC, Ripple, a couple other things, right? So I took his advice and I did that. And then I completely forgot about it. Just didn't look into it anymore. Didn't even think about it. Just buy crypto, have fun. Like I moved to Puerto Rico, unrelated to crypto, and lived my life and probably made a bunch of money and then lost a bunch of money and was none the wiser, right? So fast forward to 2020, I'm living in Austin, Texas. I put my house on the market, and because at that time I was just so tired of paying student loan debt, and really the housing market was going nuts around that time, and it just felt right. I was like, okay, this is the right move for me. And in that process, I started to really be more responsible financially in terms of what I wanted my money to do for me. So I started looking into a high yield savings account. I looked into 401k options. I looked into an options trading course. And I'm taking this options trading course, and I also knew I was going to invest more into crypto. Well, unbeknownst to Crypto Kool-Aid, that he didn't know I was selling my house, he comes to me and he says, hey, remember all those little things I told you to diversify in? I want you to take all that and put it into Hex. And at the time, because I was taking the options trading course and I was learning all these other things about different financial tools, I felt a little overwhelmed. And I thought, maybe he can just, like, would you be able to just like, here, let me give you some cash, and could you do this for me and help me out with this? And this is the best advice I ever got. And, part of the reason why I'm still here was he said, no. He said, absolutely not. You need to understand what you're doing. You are going to be your own bank. You need to do your own research, right? DYOR. And you're going to be holding the keys to your bank, So all the little things, not your keys, not your coins, be your own bank. All those little things were instilled at the very beginning into my mind. And another thing that I think, because I came into the Hex community before anything else in crypto, it was also instilled into my mind. And I don't remember who I heard this from first or how it became just so ingrained in what I was doing. I knew from the very get-go that this was a total gamble. I had the mentality that anything I was putting into this was gone forever. That was the absolute, like, I had to feel that way in order to be as confident as I was, in a way, to invest what I did, right? Like, I was willing to gamble. I was willing, as I learned more and more about Hex, basically, it became more of a sure bet. But the entire time for me, it's been a bet. It's been a gamble. It's been something that I've been absolutely willing to say this can all go to zero, and I'm still happy. I'm still totally fine. I have no no skin off my back kind of thing, right? Like I'm not worried about it. So I think that is kind of a number one. That's what I tell people the very first thing. If I'm trying to onboard someone or let someone know, why I'm in crypto or what I do in crypto, or if they're interested in investing, that is hands down my number one piece of advice is say goodbye to this money as if it's you're never going to see it again. And that's going to save you a whole lot of pain and heartache. So that's kind of how I got in, right? So he said, no, you have to learn yourself. I started listening very much like yourself. Whale's Only One was who really captured my attention at that time because I was listening or I was doing the options trading course. So his vocabulary and the way he spoke about hex and the way he related it to macro and the real world and what was going on really made sense to me at that point in time and really saved my ass because I'm telling you, had I continued, I was like 80% of the way through the options trading course when all of that happened. And so I decided to pull my money out from options trading and I put that chunk of money into hex instead. And as I learned more, I kept investing more into hex because I just thought of all of the financial tools I've looked into, of everything that I've heard about or read about, and it was the perfect timing. I hear about so many synchronicities with people getting into hex and how they did and what they were into at the time. Like it could not have come at a better time for me because I was already financially minded. I was already looking for something that I could put money into that would be a long-term investment and that would, kind of help me with retirement in the end. And to me, that is and is still what hex is. So I didn't even know who Richard was. I had no clue who Richard Hart was. And I mean, you might have a question about that later, but anyway, that's basically how I got in and then how I found out who Richard was. I think Balliot Brand was someone I was watching at the time and he mentioned Scyive a bit. So that's how I figured out what Scyive was. And then being an audiobook fiend, like I listened to audiobooks all the time, I thought, oh, surely this has an audiobook, right? And it didn't. And I was like, well, I'm going to read it anyways. I guess I just might as well record myself. So that's how I got in. And then that's how the rabbit hole started. So I got in, learned all about hex. And then Scyive was like my entryway to the rabbit hole of going down that path in the hex community.
All right. So you had heard about hex and had been invested in hex prior to knowing anything about Richard.
Mm-hmm.
See, that was actually the same with me as well. And it was around the same time that I got into crypto in general was 2017. And the only reason I even got into hex at all was because it was given away for free. So it was entirely discovered by accident to be here. Because a lot of people are thinking, well, Richard's got to be here and he's got to be out there and live streaming and going on all these different shows for hex to do anything. Like, he wasn't doing it way back then when we got into it. And we're in it. And we're in it for, really neck deep, you and I, because we're publicly talking about this stuff and putting our good names on the line here for it. But let's talk about that next, actually, here. Because you see, in this space, particularly in the whole RH hex community, lots of KOLs have come, lots of KOLs have gone. Talking about Lark Davis, BitBoy, Cassie Wolf, Hodl Dog, Ansem, they all come in and then they leave. But there's a handful of people, not just in crypto, but particularly in the hex community, that have really stayed true and stayed with both feet planted and standing firm in their beliefs and convictions about what it is they hold and why they hold it. And I think nobody can argue against the idea that you are, in fact, one of them. Like, you are kind of like the franchise of this community because you're as true blue Hexican as you can be. And I'm curious as what actually inspired you to have that level of commitment and zeal for Hex and Pulse like you do? Because I see, particularly in this brutal bear market, so many people that lost their conviction and then they turn into haters and they're constantly just posting a bunch of complaining and negativity and I guess trying to provoke Richard to respond to them, even though he never does. And what is it that has inspired you to be as steadfast as you are and have the zeal for Hex and Pulse like you do?
That's a great question. That actually kind of plays into the next chapter, right? So Scyive, to be honest with you, reading Scyive And then after that point, starting to watch Richard and starting to listen to him. And the crazy thing is, he was doing a lot of that outrage marketing at the time. However, from reading Scyive and his other book, 15 Ways to Fix the World, that, people don't realize that he's got 2 books, right? So Fix the World and then Scyive. Having read both of his books just really solidified to me who he is as a person. And there's a video that I've pinned a couple times over the years. Maybe I'll find it after this and pin it again. There's a quote in Scyive, and it talks about the fact that he says, "My cup is full, and I want to see other people's cups overflow." And I've seen over and over again that kind of verbiage from him, that mentality, the fact that there's a entity out there called 1,000,000 millionaires that he created. He doesn't just say these words, he acts upon these things. He really genuinely wants to see us win. And here's a perfect example. This quote, the quote by unknown author, right? Like, read this thing. Just anyone that doubts, like, I just don't get it. I don't understand why you would doubt, because he's not giving up. He hasn't left. And that's the long-winded answer, is that I feel like I know at the core the kind of person that Richard is. And I have no doubt that he wants to see this be victorious, and he wants to win. He wants, like, just from the highest of stakes as well, from watching the movie, you also get a glimpse into who he is and what he wants and how he's developed, right? He's not the kind of person that's just going to, like, sit in, old beliefs, and he's open to change. And we've seen that happen. I don't know if people notice it or not, but he has definitely adjusted his views on things and been open to, saying, maybe I was wrong back then and things are different now. So the fact that he is able to do that and wants the glory and wants us to win, I don't understand when people think that he's abandoned anything. Like, it really bothers me, because he's not. Like, there's so much that I think people don't see or forget. That's huge in this community too, and that in crypto in general. There's like a 2-week span of thought keeping, right? You get 2 weeks of remembering that this thing happened, and then it's gone forever, and you totally forget, and you're out here crying again. So, I think I just constantly am reminding myself and reminded of, who he is and the community that he's built. That's huge. That's been huge for me too. Is like, I say that even if I never get a 10,000x or 100x or whatever x financially, my life has 10,000x. The people I'm surrounded by, the work that I do, just my life on a daily basis is absolutely incredible. And I owe that to this community and to, the mentality that Richard has kind of instilled in me. So
I want to come back to that, how your life is 10,000x. But so let's talk about, like, the founder here for a moment, because you're right. I mean, the founder that we have, he ain't like the founders of other projects. And I don't mean that so much of his eccentricities or his outrage marketing or anything, but we take a look at Charles Hoskinson. He recently apparently says, "Oh, I'm not going to post no more." Kind of like he capitulated, like he doesn't want to be the face of his project anymore. It seemed like, okay, well, all these people are dependent on you because they think founders have this amazing influence to make coins go up or something. You're going to just let them all down? Or how about Vitalik over at Ethereum, who I am constantly criticizing because it seems he does not understand that the reason we're all here is to make money. He's saying, well, he's one of those people that's trying to pass off that phrase, "Oh, I'm in it for the tech." Like, no, ain't nobody but Fast Abdul here for the tech. So Ethereum or Vitalik, it looks like he is not interested in helping out the people who believe in him. But with Richard, well, I am absolutely convinced, like you, that he wants the people that are investing in his coins to win and win hard. And you could say, well, it's because he wants more friends, because it's very lonely when you're at the top or anything. I mean, I think it's a little deeper than that. Is when you reach a certain level of wealth, well, when you got billions of dollars, or supposedly he has billions, but when you got millions that you can easily, when you could write a check for $10 million and it doesn't faze you.
Right.
Well, buying stuff doesn't give you a dopamine high like it used to, because you see, it's not really all that special, because you can do it again tomorrow or 5 minutes later. There's not that many things left out there that he is left for him to buy, because we've seen all the watches, we've seen all the Gucci tracksuits and the the Louis Vuitton bags and everything, and all the cars. So there's not much left out there to buy. But what he does want to buy is he wants to buy a better world.
Mm-hmm.
A better world is a world that is a richer world, or a more financially secure world. Because some people will say it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. But I think if we really analyze it, maybe it's the lack of money that is the root of all evil. So would you say that, like, in all of your observations of him, you would say that that's true, that that's really what his mission is to just... Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, the lifespan, right? Like longevity and Scyive. So this is something I've said often, is that to me, for Richard, crypto is just a stepping stone. This is just one thing on his way to changing the world. And I think, to me, it's the thing monetarily that makes the most sense for the most amount of people to do the most amount of good. And I think that's kind of along the lines of a Scyive quote as well. It's wanting to see good people have the ability to affect greater change and keep people alive that are awesome longer. That's just, that's the whole basis of Scyive, is to do better and be better with your life so we can live longer, so we can do better and live longer and have better things. Like, it's really, it comes down to that. That's just one thing on his list. And he's talked about that before. He's got this whole list of things that he wants to do. And, this is just one of those things. So I'm glad that I get to be a part of this thing, so that I get to be a part of the next thing that he's going to do.
All right, let's talk about Scyive next, because what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong in anywhere, if this is just a story I've heard, but what I've heard is that reading Scyive changed your life. Like, you were going to go down one certain life path, then you read the book, and you're like, oh, no, this is the life path I need to go down. So is that true? And if so, could you tell us that story?
Yeah, it's true. And it's very, it's a little, especially in this community, what's the word? Controversial, maybe a little bit. It's something that I feel I'm closely, it hurts sometimes seeing people talk a certain way about certain things, just because I have this background and have come from a different place and have lived this story, and I'm now on the other side of it, right?
Don't feel like you have to censor yourself or walk on eggshells. Because
no, I don't.
Here.
Yeah, especially now. I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with myself and in my own skin, which is part of the story, right? So, I grew up a tomboy. I was like one of the boys. Always hung out with the guys. I grew up watching WWF at the time, wrestling and playing basketball and trading cards and comics, and that was just how I was. And I'll give you the kind of the Reader's Digest version. Ended up going through had relationships, and then ended up going through an abusive relationship. And in the abusive relationship, he was very much aggressive in wanting me to dress like a girl and wear high heels and have makeup on and do all these things that I wasn't normally about. Like, that wasn't really my style, and I was never a girly girl. And, so I kind of, in that relationship, forced myself to be very girly and to do these things and really to appease him, right? So it was very short-lived, the relationship, and ended because it was emotional abuse, and then it started getting physical, and I was like, no, I'm not that kind of girl. Like, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. So left that. And then shortly thereafter, I have a sister who's trans, and I wanted to be supportive, right, and be an advocate. So I started to learn about just how to do that. And in learning about all this stuff, I learned about non-binaryism, and I thought, holy shit, that's me. I'm non-binary. Like, I don't associate with being a girly girl. I've been a tomboy my whole life. Like, maybe this is the thing for me. So I went that way. I started to dress very masculine. I cut my hair very short. I started wearing a binder. I was mistaken for a guy on several occasions, and like was actually really proud about it. I was like, oh shit, like I liked that, and I really stepped into that. And I was doing acting at the time and labeled myself as a non-binary actor. And it was Scyive that opened my eyes to, and this is not for everybody, right? Like, my story is different. My sister's story is different, and I don't judge her in any way, shape, or form. So for me, though, reading Scyive and hearing Richard talk about the differences between men and women, and the strengths that women have and the strengths that men have, there was just something in the way that he said it, and the way that, at that point in time, I was like, nah, man, I'm a woman, and I want to be proud to be a woman. So that was the change. That was he just like totally flipped the script in my head and made me think, I can be my own kind of woman. I don't have to be a girly girl. I don't have to wear makeup and, wear dresses and high heels. And it's been really beautiful. Like, if you watch there's a I think it's a video. It's like 369 days of Scyive. I did, at the end of that series, I did a total, like, from the beginning of that phase to when I finished it, you can see physically, anyone that's watched me over the last 3-4 years, you can physically see the change. My hair is different. I dress different. I'm way more feminine now than I've ever been in my entire life, and I love it. For the first time in my life, I love being a woman, and I love feeling feminine. I still don't wear makeup. I still don't wear heels, but like, I'm doing it my own way. And to have had that, to have for Scyive to have had that effect on me, like, I am forever grateful, because I don't feel like I've ever been more proud of who I am or what I'm doing and what I want to move into in the future. And I don't know that, I probably would have got there eventually, but I think it just would have taken longer, and I would have struggled more, and I would have, who knows mentally what I would have gone through had that not shown up when it did. So for me, it was a short phase. Like, I was only, I went through the whole, like, non-binary thing, like, not even a year. I was like in that phase, and then Scyive came, and I was just like, okay, all right, I can do this, like, I can be a woman on my own terms and be proud of that and, like, move into that. So.
All right, so now when we visit you now, and you have the song by Shania Twain playing in the background, that "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," right? Yeah. Okay, yes, okay, so you know the song and everything. So I think femininity has, like, so many misconceptions about it, because it's not exactly, it's not high heels and dresses and ribbons in your hair and all that. It's a haptics, proxemics, and kinesthetics and energy. The way that you move, the way that you speak, and the way that you enter into conversations. And I tell you, like, the thing about femininity is, like, even the biggest tough guy who thinks he is, like, the most macho and the most powerful and the most, I don't need none of this or anything, he'll be brought to his knees by femininity. Absolutely. That is a superpower that can be wielded in different ways. It's like, even we probably see it a lot, even in this community, of a lot of those chest-beating guys that think they're so great and don't need anything from no woman. If you're a feminine woman, all of that goes away. All of that. And what I'm curious about, though, is you said you were a wrestling fan. Are we talking, like, the Attitude Era of WWF?
Probably before that.
Before that? Okay, it's like, what, the Bret Hart days?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who's your favorite wrestler back then?
Probably the Undertaker, because my dad's a huge Undertaker. The Undertaker and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Definitely Shawn Michaels, yep.
Yeah, I went to live. My dad loved it too, so like that was like our father daughter bonding experience. I went to a bunch of the live events. We'd always get the pay-per-view, and I'd have the guys from my boyfriends from school come over, and we'd watch all the live, cage matches and things. It was great.
You said you were an actor. Were you a stage actor, a film actor?
Mostly background acting. I've been in The Walking Dead. I was a stand-in as well in a couple films. So just background stuff. I literally told my agent that I didn't want to be famous. I was like, and I turned down commercials that I didn't believe in. Like I turned down a Burger King commercial. I turned down a Budweiser commercial. I was like, if I don't put it in my body, I don't want to be associated with it on film. So lots of commercial, and then for film, some TV shows and stand-in work.
Yeah. Well, my useless degree is in acting, but that's
I got one of those too. Mine's in photography.
Oh, you're a photographer? Okay. Yeah, it was all stage acting for me. The only thing it qualified me to do was to be a stripper for a whole year in 2012. Yep. So there was a stage involved in that, just not the stage I thought I'd be performing on.
I'd actually love to go into stage acting. I think that's been part of my dream for a long time. I loved Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis. Like I grew up singing all of that. Yeah. So I think that's actually something I'd love to do in the future is do some singing, stage acting kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was in Phantom. I was in Les Mis, Guys and Dolls, and Fiddler on the Roof. Small part in Sound of Music. Small part in that. But man, those were the good old days, and then I graduated, and it was all downhill from there. What I'm also curious about here, though, is like, what is the genesis behind the name A Wild SJ?
So I wish I knew. I wish I could remember why, like where that actually came from, or like how I came up with it. I know that in part. And I can't remember if this is in Fix the World or Scyive. I think it's in Fix the World. One of the things Richard talks about is that if you have a number or a letter near the beginning of the alphabet, it's more likely that your name will show up in searches at the top or first. So I took that in mind, and I wanted the name to start with an A. So I was like, all right, I got to figure something out. And I was going by SJ at the time. And I think actually, to continue that story, I was at the very first, my handle was non-binary SJ, and then I changed it to Scyive SJ, and then I was like, okay, but so two things, but that actually just made me think of this. So it was Scyive SJ, and then another thing that I read from Richard was that you should have your own brand, be your own brand, and I was like, well, as much as I love Scyive, it's not mine, it's not my work, so I need to come up with something that shows who I am. And I'm not, that's the funny thing is people think I'm into, I've never played, I played Pokemon Go for like 2 days. I have one Pokemon card that one of my siblings gave to me. So I've never been like super into Pokemon, but somehow, somewhere, some way, that little like a wild Pokemon appears. Like I must have seen it or thought about that somehow, and that stuck. Because, or maybe someone in chat said like SJ appears. Maybe someone said it and it got I stuck with it because I really can't remember like how the A wild part happened. But then I just ran with it. I was like, cool. Every time I enter a chat, I'm just gonna put appears because it's cute and funny and quirky. And yay, Pokemon! Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, it was like maybe it was to contrast against, say, I don't know, a domesticated SJ.
I am definitely wild. I mean, like, I hug trees. I live in a bus. What else? I'm a wild one. So it's absolutely part of my personality.
Well, I would also have to concur about that advice of putting the letter A at the beginning of your name, because the club that I danced at, they insisted on being called A Space Odyssey, even though everybody just called them Space Odyssey. And I'm like, why do you do this? And they were like, well, this was 2012, so the phone book was still important back then.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, it was something you mentioned earlier. I wanted to come back to. You said that like since getting into this community, your life has 10,000x'd. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was already on the path to time freedom. I knew that I didn't want to work in an office. I didn't want a 9 to 5. If I could possibly, I didn't want to work for anyone. So I started kind of doing odd jobs, and then I was also doing acting at the time. And that's around that time is when I got into crypto. I had already kind of started on that path into just having the freedom to do what I want when I want. And seeing the way that crypto changed, like I got in when the euphoria was peak, right? In hindsight, I didn't know that. I had no idea there were cycles in crypto. I had no idea Hex had already done a 10,000x. I didn't know any of that. I just saw all these people talking about this awesome thing and living these beautiful, wonderful lives and doing the Hex flex and things like that. It just looked like this is, I'm already kind of starting there. This is what I want to continue doing with my life. Now, it hasn't been that, right? Like, I have not seen a 10,000x. I have not X. My money has only gone down since I invested, right? And that is definitely, like it's, I'm not stoked about it, right? But like I said, I had the mentality that it could just go to zero and I'd be fine. However, what I have done is lent my talents and lent what I enjoy doing to the community and really leaned into that. And that has paid me back astronomically. Like doing Scyive, I had no idea that reading, first of all, I didn't know Richard even wanted an audiobook. I didn't know he'd already talked. Like I've gone back and watched a bunch of his old streams, and like I had no idea he'd ever even talked about doing an audiobook. People had brought it up to him before. Other people had volunteered. I think DCC was someone that had volunteered to do it or like started to try and do it and then didn't. So when I went forward with that, it was just selfish. I wanted an audiobook. Like I thought, I read the first paragraph really, or the first page of Scyive, and I thought, this really deserves something like that. So I guess for me, it's like the fact that I've been able to just be myself and do things that I already kind of love doing and be rewarded by people in the community for that. Like I've been gifted a lot of crypto and that has been really, really cool. I've never asked for anything. I think I had ads. Someone was really pissed that I had ads on my YouTube for a long time for the Scyive thing. And I was like, look, like I wasn't paid for this, no one asked me to do this or pay me for it. Like if I can get some chump change from running ads on YouTube, I'm going to. I don't think I have ads on anything anymore, and the after Scyive happened and I, was kind of like in between acting jobs and things, I thought, okay, what else can I do? I love this community so much. I just really fell in love with like all of the people doing all these things. One great example of that is Ego Builder. I met him. We were both living in Austin at the time. And the fact that, so part of my background that I haven't talked about at all is I used to work on organic farms and I was super into permaculture and growing food and all of that. So to find out that there was an entire sub community of people within the Hex community that are into permaculture and growing your own food, it blew my mind. I was like, wait. Crypto people and permaculture people and they're together, like all of this, like it was just like the most exciting. That was probably the first thing that I was like, okay, there's 100x, 100%. Like to find like-minded souls who are interested in crypto. And I think that Hex is special. Like I think that our community really deep down, we have a lot of very similar belief systems or similar passions to see things happen in the world. I think a lot of us would agree upon a lot of those basic things. And then to find, right, just like these geeks that like, raise bees and have chickens. And like, that was the first thing to my mind. I was like, wow, I found my people. Like these are my people. This is like totally what I want to see happen in the world. And at the time, again, because there was a lot of euphoria, I met and spoke to so many different people who were also like me, van lifers, overlanders, right? That wanted to build mini hexacos, right? Like build RV parks and be able to like just have, and there's, I can't remember who it is, but there is someone that is literally doing that right now. There's also someone in Zanzibar that's doing something like that. And it's amazing, like that, those facts alone, right? Like as if that wasn't enough. After that, I decided to reach out to a few people within the community and be like, hey, I'm looking for work. Like, is there something that I can do? I worked for Brandon, Rags to Riches. I worked for Crypto Coffee for a little while. And then I connected with RG3. And I just reached out and I was like, hey, man, like, because I had done a couple things for him just, for free in the past. Like, I think I wrote a bio for him or something. And I was like, do you have any actual work? And that's when the Pulse Chain tour came about. Because he was like, you know what? Actually, I'm thinking of doing this thing. And, he's like, give me a few days to like get my thoughts together. And we sat down and had a conversation. And so like, that was the conversation was he's like, I don't care that there's a bear market. He's like, people need to know about these products and people need to know about true DeFi. And I still want to go out there and preach about this. So after we had that conversation, he reached out to Kaylin, Black Hexagon, who goes by something else now. I can't remember. But because she had run the Crypto Sparbuck tour. So he reached out to her and was like, hey, like, give me some pointers. Like, how can we do this? Blah, blah, blah. And basically at the end of that phone call, she was like, all right, so you're going to hire me now? So the three of us ran the Pulse Chain tour. We did a US tour and then we did a world tour over the last few years. And that just be traveling and getting to talk about crypto, like what, like that's the next 100x, right? Like it really has just made me so grateful that I have had the ability to and the passion to follow that and to do that and to be able to. And part of it too is that I really did set myself up before crypto to be able to do that, right? Like I was already on that path. And people, there were people that were like, that would not make, like, look down upon me or like I don't know how to put it, but there's a handful of people who were like, oh, well, but you live in a bus and blah, blah, blah. I do it on purpose. Like, I'm not in a van down by the river kind of thing. Like, I do this because I love the freedom. I love being able to just pick up and go whenever I want to. I'm not doing that right now, really. But, the fact that when I do financially come into more wealth, I just want a nicer van, and maybe a residence in Portugal somewhere. Like, I want more than that, but I also just want the free. I'm not looking for a mansion. I don't need a Ferrari. Like, I'm not that kind of person. So I've had the ability to be in this space that I am and do the things that I've done because I already live kind of below my means. And I've been very happy and very content that way. And I'm starting to really look forward to what the future is going to look like and how I can bring in and how I can like visualize and, what's that word?
Manifest?
Yes, manifest. And how to manifest this. This is the phrase that like I have in my mind, divine opulence. That's what I want to be able to manifest in my life. And I don't, it's been hard for me to even start to think of what that looks like because I'm such a content person. Like I love living in a van down by the river. Like it's fine. like that works for me, but to imagine more and to imagine, what I can do. And a lot of what I end up thinking to manifest is to give to others, right? Like that's really kind of what it comes down to is that I want to be able to, have what I want and have what I need. And then give from the overflow of that to, the people in my life that have helped me in the past, or people that are doing things like building hexacos, right? Like all over the place. Like I want to be able to contribute financially if I can't contribute physically or in any other way.
I always kind of imagined that you were a minimalist. Is that right?
Yeah, very much so. And I've changed kind of my minimalism in that I've gone from kind of like buying things. I mean, I still go to thrift stores, but I look for quality now. Like I don't just have like the minimal basic thing. Like this is an all organic dress. It's packed, right? Like I want things that not only I feel good in, but like I know is high quality and it's going to last me a long time. And I don't need a lot of stuff. Like I don't like having like I don't buy things if I can't use them, right? This is a perfect example. Someone complimented me on my earrings today, and I got these in Alaska. And instead of buying a fridge magnet or a coaster or something like that, this is what I got. It's something that I can use. It's something that I like. You know, I don't need to collect things that are just going to kind of sit around and do nothing.
See, I think what you're getting at here is actually the entire spirit of what my business was all about. It was like with the name Reinvent Ideal and everything. I mean, it's all a play on the phrase reinvent the wheel, but what really inspired it, what really started it was just that there's all these guys out there that are incredibly unhappy because they can't get the girls or they can't get rich. And their lives, they think, are just cursed. And their existence is going to be a horrible one. And I'm like, well, why don't we take another look here at this? Because, like, sure, maybe you're not going to get married and you're not going to have kids and you're not going to get the house with a white picket fence and the gold retriever in the backyard. But think about it this way here is you have less things to worry about right now. You sleeping on your couch or a friend's couch, you'll never be more free than you are right now, where you have the ability to play to win. You have the ability to take risks that many people who are in marriages with families and everything can't do. Like right now, while you're sleeping on the couch, well, there's another guy who's in the place where you want to be, but he's laying in bed staring at the ceiling next to a woman that doesn't love him, but somehow they're married, kids that don't respect him, and working for a boss that hates him. And he has to keep showing up because he has all these obligations that he's got to pay for. So why don't we focus on the things that we have to be grateful for, the things to have gratitude, which we will talk about with you right here, because I know that you mentioned contentment. I love talking about that. And when we get to positivity, we'll get into that here. But a couple of things stood out to me about what you said just now right here. In case like there's any viewers out there wondering, hey, can I hire a wild SJ? Well, what can you do, and are you up for hire?
Oh, shit. That's a great question.
Market yourself here. We got 300 people watching us right now.
What's up, everybody? I am a wild SJ. I am a woman of many talents. I don't know that I'm for hire though right now because I am really swamped with getting these tablets out into the world. That's like my main focus right now. And to be honest with you, my goal and what I want to see myself doing in the future is along the lines of stage, like singing on stage, singing on tracks. I love to sing. And it's something that has been a struggle all my life. Like when I was really young, I was in plays and I was singing and I was doing all that. And then somewhere along the line, that magic got either lost or I got told to shut up and be quiet. And so I've had a hard time trying to bring that back into my life. When I write my own songs. So maybe you can hire me for that. If you'd like for me to sing on a track, if you want to work with me and produce some music, that would be awesome because that's really something that I'm looking into. And
I want to audition and sing something for us right now.
Oh, that's where I get all like hung up. And
I'll put you on the spot, but I can set you up right here because I was classically trained as well. So what do you want, Phantom of the Opera or something here?
Oh my God. Or something. Pick a song and I'll try real hard.
All right. So how about like the song where they're stepping through the mirror? You know that song, right?
I'm sure I do. Yeah. I listened to Phantom way too many times when I was a kid, so I know them all.
So I'll set you up right here. It goes, flattering child, you shall know me. See why in shadow I hide. Look at your face in the mirror. I am there inside.
Angel of music. I forgot the words.
Hide no longer. Yeah, so Angel of Music, hide no longer. Guide and Guardian, and then Hide No Longer. All right. But
I'd
we,
have to-
we heard we heard your singing voice right there. All right, so you got
And
a
it's-
little bit of
that's
soprano
really
in you.
different from like, so I have a huge range. Like I've done a few vocal classes, and that's what the people tell me is like, so I can sing. Do you know who the Dresden Dolls are by chance?
I do. Yep.
So Amanda Palmer, like I love singing real low. Like I enjoy singing low. I can sing high. And
That's
then
the
when I
tomboy
write
in you
my
still,
own, what's that?
That's the tomboy still in you.
For sure, yeah. And then when I write my own music, this is the weirdest thing. I end up writing like, or it kind of comes out very like twangy, like bluegrassy, almost country, which is my least favorite. Like I've really not liked country most of my life. I mean, like I love like Johnny Cash and maybe a Garth Brooks song here or there kind of thing. But yeah, it's really strange to me that I end up singing kind of in that tone when I write my own music. So it's fun. I'm trying to think if there's something like I can think of that's my own that I can sing.
All right, and everybody watching right here, if you need like a singer, maybe somebody to, I don't know, perform the national anthem at your event, SJ is up for hire for that, right?
I'll do it. I'll do it. Let's
Do
go.
it? Okay, excellent. So while you're thinking of that here, I gotta get back to like this other question that I was gonna ask you. Oh yeah, wrote down our notes here. One more question about sci-fi before we get into positivity. But you have a song of yours that you'd like to share with us and serenade us with here.
That's the thing too, is that it's been hard. You have to be your own boss, right? Like if you're gonna write your own music, like you have to take the time to work on it and do that. And so I go through phases. Like I have phases where like I'll spend, a couple months writing songs, and then I'll have phases like right now I've been just so busy with everything else I barely even, thought to do it. Let's see. I can't find anything. Or maybe I just don't want to find anything.
All right. How about you find something throughout the stream right here, but let me hit you with this question before we like get past that topic. Is the number one, I don't know about it's like complaint, but like number one objection, I guess I hear to Scyive, I wonder if you've heard this, is that it's very hard for a lot of people to understand. I mean, they say, well, I'm trying to read this, but it feels just kind of like the diary of the random thoughts of a mad scientist. So, how do you like? Have you heard that criticism before, and like, how do you answer that?
Yeah. So the thing is the PDF version is that basically like that's what it is. It's thoughts that were compiled and put into some semblance of some kind of basic order. And what ended up happening is that when I read it, I saw that and I edited it. So I've edited it twice. And then after I edited it twice, RH Max hired a professional editor to go through it again a third time. So it exists. There is an edited version that is not so scrambly. However, it's not ours to produce or publish, right? So again, like I said, crypto is just one of the things on his list. Like that's on the list, is publishing Scyive and actually having a well put together version of it that you can read. And in fact, it's not only is it much more well organized, all the thoughts are kind of compiled and finished. I also PG-13'd it, so all the cussing has been removed. It's a lot more family friendly, and it's there. It's just a matter of when and if he's got the time to publish it and take that on. The second reading so there's two versions of Scyive on my on YouTube. There's the original version that I recorded, and then there's the more cleaned up, like between those two versions, I edited it and I took an audio recording class. So the second version is actually, I think it's called ACX ready. If we wanted to put it on Audible, it is Audible ready. It's edited well enough that you could put it on Audible and it would be ready for that. So, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah. So if you do want to listen to, you could always transpose it. AI can do that in a second now. So you could take my second version of Scyive, and transpose it and read it if you wanted to, because that is the more edited version. It's not the final edited version, but it definitely makes more sense. And there were pieces of thoughts, and there were paragraphs that didn't belong in certain places. So that's all been moved around and rearranged and put into place.
What I'm waiting for and what I'm more interested in is when each chapter of the book is chopped up into songs and you sing them.
Let's
That's what I'm
go.
waiting for.
I love it.
All right, so here's what we're going to do next right here. We're going to run a quick commercial here, and then when we come back, we're going to get into positivity. So 50 seconds from now, you will feel a lot better about the situation that we're in, because that's what we're going to talk about.
Why does crypto suddenly explode into unbelievable bull runs, only to crash just as fast? It's not luck. It's not random. It's macroeconomics. In decrypting crypto, you'll uncover the hidden forces driving every major crypto rally, forces tied to the global debt machine, central bank liquidity, and repeating market cycles. This isn't another blockchain basics book. This is the blueprint Wall Street doesn't want you to read. The playbook that shows you why crypto moves when it does, and how to spot the next bull run before it starts. Don't miss the next cycle. Read Decrypting Crypto. Arm yourself with the knowledge to ride the wave before it leaves you behind. Decrypting Crypto by Cairo. Available now on Amazon and Audible.
So speaking of books, whenever your friend or whenever the market gets going again and it's going really good and your friends come up to you and they say, hey, you know that crypto thing that you do? I see that's making a lot of money lately, and man, I wish I understood it. You think you can explain it to me? Well, what you do is you just say, oh, I'll explain it, but I got something even better here. Here is a book that explains it perfectly. It is written in understandable layman's language, even uses analogies that are colorful and make it easy to understand. You can read it in small little bite sizes, and by the time you get to the back cover, you will get it as well as I do. And then when they do that and they buy into crypto and make life-changing wealth, well, then they will be your most loyal friend forever. That is entirely the mission of that book. But before we get to that point where we get life-changing wealth, well, I think we got a very difficult time here ahead of us with all this uncertainty that the market has to get through, or really the world and the entire economy has to get through. And there's going to be lots and lots of what we call FUD.
Sometimes you just gotta shut the FUD up.
That's right. So a good way to silence the voices of FUD in your head is going to be with positive thoughts. And that's why we brought on the positivity princess of Pulse Chain, Hex, the entire ecosystem, probably in all of crypto, the most positive person. Born in the bear market and has only known red candles, has actually never experienced any, well, I imagine you've made like some profit, but you've not experienced parabolic profits.
Right.
Yeah. So still, you don't look as devastated or as mentally destroyed, or you don't look like about to be like the rest of us. We look like we're about to be admitted into a sanitarium or something, but you don't look like that at all. All right. So we got to talk about that and see what is your secret. So let's start with this. How do you stay positive in general? Like, I mean, not specifically to crypto, but just in general. Where does all this happiness that is very evident when we look at you, where does it all come from?
So I have to say that I really feel lucky that I just have a cheery disposition, as Mary Poppins would say. I just have always been that way. I have a very strong mind. I have a very strong will. And there is very, very little that gets me down in general. And I've actually been accused of being fake in the past. I've had, people just think that this is all a facade and that there's no way I can be this happy. And that really breaks my heart, to be honest with you. The fact that, people see someone like me who is joyful and grateful and and just full of happiness, and for them to think that that's not possible is really just like, I'm literally, my heart hurts right now. Like it really like weighs heavy on me, thinking that people have that kind of mentality. And part of it, I gotta say, there's a small piece of just, I don't know there, because it really is innate within my DNA. Like it just happened to be who I am as a person. And I would probably also say that I've been, again, like lucky to have had a great just upbringing and life in general. I'm not going to say I haven't had trials and, faced things like we talked about the abusive relationship earlier. There's been times in my life where I've been sad. Especially as a teenager, I went through a lot of emo goth type, vibes, and never would have like offed myself. I've never been that, sad or depressed, but I was a cutter for a little while. I was in grade or like junior high. And I guess I just ended up, I feel like maybe part of it for me was that just being content and happy and grateful with what I have in life just was easier. It felt better. And I tend to be around people who are uplifting as well, and really not allow a lot of like outside circumstances to wreck my inner peace. Like the way that one thing that, and I can't remember where I learned this from, but one thing that I do practice regularly is that when I wake up in the morning, I smile. The first thing I do is smile, just to start my day and to start on a happy note and know that, I'm alive. Like, just to have breath, have a roof over my head, running water. And maybe that's part of it too, is I did grow up in the church. I grew up kind of going to church. And at a young age, I went to Mexico, and I witnessed children there just running around in the dirt and being just absolutely gleeful. And I think that really had an impact on me. I remember kind of thinking, if they can live this, so this is kind of also where the minimalism comes in, is I remember after that trip, I gave away almost all of my toys. I gave away almost everything that I had, because I was just like, if they can live the way that they do in poverty, basically, and just be so overjoyed and like giggling and laughing and having a great time, how much more should I be able to do that? And I have so much in my life. Like, I started to think like, oh, I don't use this thing. This thing doesn't, I was very feng shui as even a young child. I was like, the thought that I always had was, someone else might love this more. Someone else might appreciate this better and take care of it and need it or want it in their lives. So that was kind of the beginning of just being overly grateful for what I had. Just seeing other people in other circumstances have little to nothing and have the ability to be great. It's funny. I feel like I'm having a therapy session right now, because I don't think I realized that. Like I've known that story. I knew that happened to me, but I don't think I realized that was actually probably where my positivity stems from, is having that experience at a young age and having it affect me so heavily that I've been able to be positive and be happy and content with what I have my whole life.
Yeah, gratitude definitely goes a long way, but it's like so easy to forget. I mean, we live in a time where we have hot showers on demand anytime we want them. And that was not true 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Or we live in imagine just 70 years ago, or 100 or so, you had to use the bathroom. Well, it was, hey, here's a shovel, and go pick some leaves off of that bush there, dig yourself a hole, and then you know what to do with the leaves, all right? Or, you're not feeling well? Okay, well, here, have a leech. Ooh. So it's amazing, like we lose track of that here. We get to the point where we're complaining about numbers we see on a screen and letting it destroy our lives. But we forget the fact that we're living in a time where we can blow millions of dollars on monkey JPEGs. Yes. All right. So what I've heard from you here is smile first thing in the morning. And as far as like the part that is in your genes, you don't really know where the positivity comes from. Well, we'll just chalk all that up to supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Perfect. Nailed it.
How about specifically with respect to the undesirable price action that we see in our ecosystem, in the charts for the core coins? I mean, the negativity that we see on X, we can mute the haters or block the haters. It's fine. But we can't mute these price charts. Eventually, we're going to have to check on our bags and see how they're doing. So, with this past year of it being down and down bad, how have you stayed positive, and how will you stay positive if this downtrend continues?
So there have been a few times where over the last few years where I thought that was it. That's the bottom, right? Like this is the absolute, because sentiment and price and, you know, all those things combined just were terrible. And don't get me wrong, I have definitely had moments of frustration more than anything, not depression, not really sad, just like, man, like, you know, I really thought this thing was going to take off, and I thought this was going to be the thing that was, you know, I heard that there were cycles. like I heard it was, you know, everyone said it was like this long after the Bitcoin halving, like this was going to happen. And, you know, and it just hasn't yet. And the thing for me though, is that, like I said, kind of towards the beginning of this, is because I invested in such a mentality that it could all go to zero. That's how I stay positive, is because I really just am so grateful for the community and for my life and for what's going on around me on a daily basis, that to get any financial gain from this is just going to be icing on the cake for me. And I know, like, and I sometimes it's hard for me to like say that or talk about that, because I know that there are people who over leveraged, right? Or, you know, we're so devout, you know, and so excited that they sold their house, they sold their car, they, you know, they did this, that, or the other thing to put it into Hex, and, you know, Hex or Pulse or whatever. And, you know, they're down bad because they did that thing thinking that this was going to, you know, be the quick win. And it's like, I don't know, like it's hard for me to empathize in a way, because I wasn't there at the time. Like I didn't go through that, because I barely knew what a sacrifice was. When Pulse and Pulse X, I sacrificed for both of them, but it was very minimal because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really know what it was. And I had just gotten into Hex. So I was like, this thing, okay, I guess I do this thing now, right? And that was mostly on the, you know, the word of my good friends who were already into crypto. So really to stay positive to me is you have to, there's two things. Know that this is all a gamble, and have that mentality. This could just all go to zero, which is it's not a happy thought, but for me, that helps keep me asleep at night, right? Like I can sleep because I already know that the money's just gone. And if I get more, cool, like that's awesome, like totally like bonus, right? And then on the other end of that is, again, for me, it was a long-term play at the beginning, at the get-go. This was not something that I was looking. I didn't even know about. I didn't know you could trade crypto. I didn't know, you know, I didn't know about 10,000 X's. I didn't know how much money I could make. I saw people making money. I saw people very happy. I saw people doing hex flexes and things like that. I was like, that's cool. I'd love to do that someday. And for me, I can still do that someday. Like I have not lost hope. I have not lost faith. I have not lost my resolve in any of this, because it's still, Hex is staked for 15 more years. I just made a 15-year stake like a month ago. I see people doing it, you know, daily. There are people that are doing 15-year stakes still. So this is a long-term play for me in my mind. And, you know, like I don't. I think the worst thing that could like not the worst thing, but I don't know. Like it's just like the people, the imaginary horribles, right? Like if Richard were to pass away, if that were to happen, like would it go to zero? I don't know that it would. I don't even know that that would stop it because of the community and the people that are staked and like the like what like the and who knows, like with AI these days he could have something set up that like like push this button should I become exhausted in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I guess it's those two things for me. Just I'm able to stay positive because this is all for me icing on the cake when I do financially become rewarded, and then I have the long-term mentality on it. I just, like I'm willing to wait longer. And it's actually that part of it has really helped me become a stronger person, so to say. Like, because like I mentioned before, I've set myself up so that I don't have to work a 9 to 5. I don't, have to like do certain things. I'm able to just kind of work and get income from this thing or the other thing. But I think that having gone through the longest bear market and seeing so many people, the whole McDonald's joke, right? Like having to go back and flip burgers and things like that. It's made me want to be able to set myself up so that even when we win financially and even when I have more money than I can imagine spending, I'm still doing something to earn income that I love, that I want to do, that I want to put out into the world. So that's kind of actually where I'm at right now. And just real quick shout out to Whitney Magic. There's a course that I'm taking with her it's money habits. And it's actually her, and I think Jamie is the other woman's name. And I just started it literally this morning. And it's all perfect timing because it's helping me remember that I'm here for a reason and I have a purpose. Like, I love what I'm doing here with, with Pulse Chain and with the tablets, but I have other talents and I have other things that I want to put out into the world. And I have the ability to make money doing those things. And I'm really excited about how I'm going to figure that out and how that's going to work for me in the future, because there are going to be cycles. There are going to be moments of wealth and moments of, having not. So yeah, my long-winded answer.
Well, if we look back at like this past cycle, these past few years, I mean, the really troubling times, I mean, I remember them just like yesterday, just because of how traumatizing they were for this community. Like August 2023, we get the SEC FUD. And that's when the Gensler candles happen. Some of us, we were still just like, well, that just means we can buy more of these coins. And we were still very hopeful because it was early in the cycle. The movie was coming out. We could get through that. Then, the next year, December 2024, the Interpol candles come out. And still, I remember the community being like very, like rallying the wagons. Like, we're not going to let this thing go down. We're going to keep buying it up as these red candles keep falling down. We'll catch them. Then, we had the PDI exploit a few months later in 2025. That one was particularly upsetting to me because we lost KDP. If you remember KDP crypto from that time. Losing her, I think, was a big hit for us because she was capable of attracting an audience that I couldn't appeal to, or attracting an audience that many other guys in this community, many other KOLs could not get. And that's where we started to see a lot of the believers begin to drop like flies. So throughout these different traumatic events that we've gone through this past cycle, like what did any of these worry you at all? And if so, how did you turn off that worry and turn on the positivity again?
That is a great question. And I think in part, it's been very minimal. And I feel like part of that is because Richard's never worried about it. in a way. Like, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but to know that he still 100% believes that we have everything that we need and that this is going to work and we're going to win. Like, especially like watching his recent, like the last couple videos that he put out, like he's like, I'm safer than ever. I'm doing great. And this is all, we just need marketing. We just need more eyes. Like to know that this has been, if he can get through all this FUD, and if he can still be positive and still put in the work and still be doing what he's doing and have, like, I mean, I've had haters. I've had people come at me. I've had people say terrible things, and very, few and far between. But like when it happens, it's shitty. It fucking sucks. It's like, man, like, are you, of all the people, really me? Like, are you kidding me right
Exactly.
now?
Not a bomb thrower like me, but like, the one nice person in the community here, they're coming after you.
Yeah, and then the time and energy and effort, like the things I do with my time that, people don't understand or don't see. I'm spending my life right now getting these tablets out into the world, right? And people don't see that. People don't know that. And they don't recognize, because I'm not very public about it. Like, we're not, putting out videos of us having these huge, like, walls of boxes behind me full of tablets. But, if I feel upset, right? Like, if I want to defend myself and I want to, be like, oh, you have no idea what's going on in my life, blah, blah, blah. How much more, could or would Richard feel that way, or, be upset or feel these arrows from people that he used to call his friends, people that he used to talk to on the regular, right? Like turning their backs and saying that he's a piece of shit, or that he's not doing anything, or that this, that, and the other, whatever insult you can think of, like, just to, in my mind, like the magnification of what he has probably seen or dealt with, or, like all of the insults, all of the trash, and to still be positive. And for him, like that, he inspires me. For him to be still positive, still uplifting the people that are, doing the work, and still want to get the message out about what he's built. How could you not like rally around that and want to be around that and want to be a part of that? I think that that's huge for me, is just seeing him. People are like, oh, he's not a leader, he's not doing what he is, though. He is, as much as he can. And I'm of the belief that a lot of the reason he's not, public on stream and things like that is because the red notice still exists. That's just, if I had to chalk it up to something, I'm like 99% positive that that's the reason that he's not able to be, that he's got a black screen behind him, and, like no one knows, no one can see where he's at or what he's, where he's at.
I'm thinking like his lawyers probably told him, hey, don't
For
talk.
sure.
And he's paying millions of dollars to these lawyers. He's going to do what they say to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that I think is unique to us here, at least. Like, there's a coin out there I invested in, I once believed in. It underperformed badly, so I cut my losses, I sold my bag, and I moved on with my life. I didn't spend a whole bunch of energy trash talking the coin and clowning on the people that are still invested in it. But we apparently don't deserve that respect here, because so many of us can attest to this, where we get people harassing us on X because we believe in Hex and Pulse Chain. A good friend of mine someone who's become a good friend of mine is Tam Tam. Anytime she posts something positive about Hex, Pulse Chain, gets nasty comments from the same people under her posts. And I'm sure like many other members of this community have felt this as well. You even said that it's happened to you. I mean, all the people that you're going to come after right here, you're not going to come after like, the big bomb thrower, the big trash talker like me. They're going to come after the nice person like you here. So suppose, there's people that they're not used to dealing with this kind of adversity. I mean, imagine in your background, you've faced adversity just being an actor, because, auditions are very brutal, as I can attest to. So facing criticism, adversity, and cruelty, like for somebody who is out there as a Hexican and doesn't know how to handle that, what advice would you give them?
Oof. What advice would I give them?
Yeah, how would you deal with? How would you advise somebody to deal with the haters?
Block them, ignore them, block them, ignore them, and then go touch grass. Go outside, go for a walk. Like, really, we have to remember. And here's another great thing. Here's a good piece of advice. What you see online is such a tiny fraction of what is out there in real life. Having traveled the world, all through the United States, all through Europe, there are so many more people out there in the real world who are not on X, who are not on YouTube, who are not on social media, who hold big bags and love Hex and Pulse Chain. There is a whole other world out there of people that you don't see and don't know about. I think that's another thing that's kept me positive, is be immersing myself in the community and knowing that there are way more people offline than there are online. So the trolls, the haters, it is such a small, it seems huge, because if you immerse yourself in only X and only online, that's all you see. You're surrounded by that. But if you get out there, organize a meetup. Like, that is, I think, one of the biggest things that people can do is organize a meetup, right? Just call it a crypto meetup and see who shows up and see who you can talk to. There are people all around you that you may not even know that are in this and are feeling the same way and are going through the same things, right? That was one of the most beautiful things I saw. Was one story I like to tell is in Atlanta, we were having dinner, and the table next to me, there were 3 guys there. They all realized that they lived within several blocks of each other, and I overheard them start, at that moment, they started a Telegram channel for the city of Atlanta for Pulsicans, and they started organizing meetups themselves. So again, like, it's just such a small fraction of like internet existence. Like, you got to remember that there is a whole world outside, and there's a whole world of people out there who still believe in this project. Like, the tablets is a perfect example. The fact that I can send a pallet of tablets, thousands of these devices, to a city and have multiple people show up to grab a box so that they can distribute them. That's huge to me. Like, that shows that this community is still strong and is still out there and is still marketing. So that's huge. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I can piggyback off of what you had said there about like how small what you see on Twitter is in comparison to the world. Because I hear this from like several guys that say, they watch way too much TikTok, and they're convinced from that every woman out there absolutely hates all men. Like, there's this horrific sex war where, like, if they had the power and weaponry to kill us all, that they would. Or same goes for, like, any division you want to focus on, like politics, left versus right or whatever, that we would kill each other immediately if given the chance. We got to put this into perspective. You see, in 2025, a total of $275 billion is what was spent on internet advertising. And when we think about that $275 billion being divided, chopped up, and passed around to all of the influencers and KOLs that are trying to get a piece of that, there really isn't a lot to go around there, because today's world, 100,000 is the new minimum wage, thanks to the wave of inflation we just lived through. So that's only enough to give a living wage to 2.75 million people. 2.75 million people out of the billions that occupy this earth. There's not that much. So they really are fighting for every single penny out there, and that's why there's so much rage bait. That's why there's so much outrage marketing, for lack of a better phrase. That's why there's so much engagement bait out there, so much trash that you see taken to the most extreme end. I mean, I see stuff that is more extreme than I thought I would ever see. It's true of like all aspects of internet business. I mean, like, why is Bonnie Blue does what she does, if it's even real? Well, it's because she's competing with hundreds of thousands of other people out there like her for a very small bit of a very poor attention economy. And that's all that it is. Because when you go out in the real world, a lot of people don't even know who any of these people are. So,
Yep.
what we want to talk about next here is hopium. I mean, we got to have something to look forward to, something to feel good about. And I sense that, like, there is a lot of optimism. You have a lot of optimism that a lot of people used to have and would like to have again. So, what is your main source of that optimism or hopium given the situation of today's markets and prices?
Like, I'm trying to think of if I can say anything different, because I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it really, a big part of it is just like, I'm gonna read. Can I read this? I'm just gonna read this.
Yes.
I don't know what will work, but 100% know something the fuck will. Pardon my French. I'm gonna cuss a couple more times. And we're gonna try every single fucking thing. We have the dream, the chain, the stuff, the trading, the everything, the legal clarity. That part right there, that's real important. Better on-ramps, you fucking name it. We have fucking everything. Now we get to live the dream of just shilling. Like, that is huge. That's huge to have that kind of a founder who has that kind of a mentality. You know, like it, and the thing is it like, it's not just like fluff. Like, he's not just saying that shit. It's all true. Hex is better than Bitcoin. Pulse chain is better than Ethereum. You know, like, people, the smartest people I know are in Pulse chain and Hex. That's another reason why another 100x in my life, right? I love learning. I love being around people that are smart and that understand things better than I can, and that can explain things to me and help me become smarter. I have grown mentally so much in the last 3 years, and I have this community to thank for that. And I hear over and over again about people who have been in crypto much longer than I have. And so many of them have the same kind of story, that they were looking for this. They were looking for this kind of a thing in crypto. They were looking for something that had this kind of ability to do what it does. And they found it in Hex, and they found it in Richard, and they found it in Pulse Chain. And I strongly believe that we're going to find it time and time again in all the things that Richard puts out in the future, right? And again, crypto or not, I really strongly believe that there could be a Hexaco in the making. There could be a nation state and something, something along those lines. So that to me is the hopium, is that we still have the strongest, largest community. If we can, after these 4 years of all of this, right, like of being beat up and dragged down and knocked out over and over again with all these different things, and still being gate kept and still not being, like shown on the places that we need to be shown in the ways that we need to be shown, and we're still here, how could you not be excited about that? Like, that just, I'm enthralled. Like, I'm so grateful and I'm so stoked to be a part of this community. And I'm not going, and like, I don't want to go anywhere. And, I don't blame some of the people that have left, right? Some of them, again, like, if I didn't have such a strong mental capacity to be positive, I might have disappeared. And not because I don't love this community or because I'm not still, fully invested or excited about it, but for my own mental sanity. Like, some people needed to just take a step back so that they can just live their lives. And that's what probably a lot of the people that are crying about it and being negative and like taking their time to find whatever they can to, call someone out or be the police or what the fuck ever, like, go touch grass and go do something else productive with your life. Like, build something, but I don't mean like in crypto. I just mean go build something else in life. Like, do something that's going to like take that stress and anxiety off of you and allow you to like smile more. Because there's so much in life to smile about. There is.
All right. Very good. Very good. Everybody that's watching us here in the chat, if you got a question for Wild SJ, get them in right now, because we're coming pretty close to the end of all my questions for her. So here's what I'll do is I'll offer a little bit of like hopium that I have here. I mean, first source of hopium I've got with respect to Pulse Chain is, as far as we know, the Treasury still holds hundreds of millions of dollars that can be put to use in some way to benefit the chain. Don't know how it will be put to use, but it's there. And that's a very long runway. I mean, having a long runway like that is something that many other chains out there, many other projects wish they had. Something Access Alive explained to me once about the negative price action and how you can kind of like find positivity in it is that when the price, whether it goes up or it goes down, a trade occurred. Somebody bought, somebody sold. When that trade occurred, the person selling is a person who is weak-handed or too weak-handed to hold it at the current price. The person buying is strong-handed enough to hold it at the current low price that it's at. So these bear markets have a function of transferring these assets, these coins, from weaker hands to stronger hands. That's something that we can find hope in. Hopium for me is also just knowing what I know about what causes these markets to go up, what causes the investments to go up in general. I won't bore you with Cairo's law. I do that on every single one of these streams here. I'll give it a rest here for this stream, but I will show you this chart. This is Fed net liquidity, which next to the Fed's balance sheet, I think is the second most important chart in all of investments in economics. Throughout 2025, why did that year suck? Well, look at the trend on Fed net liquidity. It was going down throughout the entire year. Nowhere but down. The trend has reversed, but it's still very slow. Still very slow as far as its reversal of going up here. Let me, okay, yeah, it's on the screen, good. So this gives me hope that at least it's no longer a downtrend, and it seems that like 5.5 trillion is the floor for net liquidity, because yeah, you'd have to go way back before the pandemic before it was lower, and we know that that's a normal that we're not ever returning to. That's a world we're never going back to. We also would take a look at our interest rate environments here, specifically with federal funds rate with respect to the Treasury yields. What needs to happen, they need to be in the right order. The federal funds rate should be the lowest rate on the chart, and the Treasury yields should all be higher in order of their maturity, which they currently are not. You see, the way that this plays out is that this blue line here, that's the federal funds rate. That should be the lowest rate out of them all. It is lower than the 10-year Treasury, so it got that part right. It's lower than the 30-year Treasury. It got that part right too. But it's not lower than the 2-year Treasury. Now, federal funds rate, that's where you lend money and it gets paid back overnight. 2-year Treasury, you lend money, it gets paid back over 2 years. SJ, if I borrowed money from you and I said I was going to pay you back tomorrow, would you ask me to pay you a high interest rate or a low interest rate in that?
A low interest rate.
Great. And if I said, well, I need 2 years to do this, would you charge me a higher one or a lower one?
Yeah, higher. That makes sense.
A higher one. So right now the world doesn't make any sense.
It's true.
And then the 3-month Treasury is right there with it. I mean, why should the overnight rate and the 3-month rate be the same? That makes no sense. This has to get sorted out, because in previous times, like when we had good times here, as you can kind of see, I probably got to go back 5 years for it. When the federal funds rate was the lowest rate on the chart, that was when we were in good times. Like here was the top of the last cycle, November 2021. There it's in the perfect order that it needs to be in. The world has to make sense first. The debt markets have to be organized properly first. Right now, they're out of order. So until they get ordered, the world is not going to go back to normal, because we see what this reflects here. What this reflects is that people don't have the money in their pockets to go buy our coins, because this basically means the economy is bad, and that's why these rates are all out of whack. So the things that cause crypto to go up, this is the only point I'm making here, the things that cause crypto to go up, the things that cause markets to go up that have happened before have not happened yet. And that was entirely the subject of when RH Max put me on the map and discovered me at the very first Pulse Chain conference. That was the subject of my speech then. That is still the thesis I'm working under right now, is that we really aren't missing out on anything because nothing meaningful has happened yet to cause our coins to go up. Now, I see that, see, we haven't got any questions in the chat here yet, but I do got 2 left here for you. What can you tell us about, or before we get into that here, before we get about the tablets, the stuff I see behind you, I see some posters behind you right here, and that all looks related to Hex. Tell us, what is that?
So these were from the tour. They were, I think this was from Vegas. So we had in the auditorium where we held the conference, we had hex.com, pulsechain.com, and I think I have a PulseX one back there too. So it was just, for people that didn't know or new people that were coming into the conference, it was just like a little like teaser on, this is what we're talking about. Here's some basic information on what this conference is about and what we're doing. And so now I actually take them anytime I do a meetup. They're here at what we call the Hive, which is the warehouse where all the tablets are and where we run the operations from. So that's what those are.
Okay, excellent. And let's ask this here is what would you say to someone who's out there listening right now who bought the coins and has held on to them for a long time, and they're feeling very lost and possibly second guessing their decision to buy the Richard Hart core coins, and they hear you and I talk, and they're like, well, you guys must be all right, and that's why you can stay positive about it, but I'm far from all right. What would you say to that person if they were to lend you their ears?
So you're not alone. I also financially with my investment am not all right. I mean, I'm all right because like my mentality, again, right? I am willing to lose the money that I put in. And I wish that everyone had gone in that way. However, what has made it feel better for me and what has been something that has kind of uplifted me is having the ability to to DCA. Because now that most of my buys and this is something the advice that I didn't get that I wish I would have got was to DCA in. Because I did big buys at 20 cents, at 14 cents. Like that's when I bought most of my Hex at that time. Now, have I had the chance to buy more and scoop as much as I could? It's like, have I, brought my DCA average to a much more wonderful place? Yes. I think if you haven't done that already and you should. Because once this thing goes parabolic, which I believe with all my heart it's going to, you're going to have that much more. Like you're going to be like, oh man, like I scooped it up when it was like under a penny, under fractions of a penny. And now it's like, you don't have to wait until it's 20 cents again. You don't have to wait until it's 14 cents again. You can feel like you have more of a gain at a lower price and if you're down about it, you don't think we're going to go back to 50 cents. You don't think we're going to go to $1 or $3 or $10,000. Like I had a dream once that Hex was $10,000 a coin. And I absolutely believe that that's possible. Like, then, sell when you want to, take profits when you want to, at the very least, you can break even and call it a day and go bye-bye forever, but I'm here for the long run. And I think that the more you put that kind of mentality into your mind and the more you think this is, Hex is a CD. It's a certificate of deposit. People in the normal financial world don't get CDs for a 2-day turnaround or a 10-month turnaround. Like CDs are a long-term investment. So that is the advice that I would give is just, take more time to do other things, invest in yourself, invest in your mental clarity, go touch grass and literally go to the ocean. You know what I mean? Like not everyone can literally touch grass. Like just go outside, take a break from the computer. This is advice I need to take myself. I've really noticed myself scrolling too much recently and just being on either Instagram or X, just scrolling. And that's not me. I don't normally do that, but I've been kind of addicted to my phone lately. So I'm trying to break that habit and I'm trying to get out of that mentality because when you do that, again, you're here. You're seeing this much of a much larger picture and a much larger scope. And, Cairo here is talking about the macro part of it, right? Like some people don't even think about that part, right? I kind of don't. But I'm so glad that you explained things the way you did today, because I do, like, part of me knows that. I didn't understand retail 6 months ago. Like, I didn't really understand what it meant that retail hasn't come in yet. And with you explaining things that way and seeing the way the markets are and what the macro is doing, like, oh, that makes way more sense. Like retail's not here because retail ain't got no retail. Like, no one's gotten the money to do it. It's not like it's been in the past. So I really honestly believe that we are set up for success. I really honestly believe that we have the absolute best that there is in DeFi. And it really is just going to take more people knowing about it. And, whatever it takes for that to happen, it may happen soon. It may not, who knows, but be part of the solution. Try to be part of the solution. Do whatever you can do that makes you happy, that brings you joy in life, and hand out a tablet on the side. Do something, like, while you're doing what makes you happy and brings you joy in life in general. And if you can tell someone else about this amazing DeFi product that you're in, do that.
I got one other piece of advice for that person. That's this.
Control yourself!
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But what I also say about, like, this macro stuff right here, I mean, like, what we know is not magical or anything. So, like, feel free to ask us to explain any macro stuff that you want to know more about right here. I mean, this wasn't meant to be the single-handed interrogation of a wild SJ here. But I got we did get some questions here in the chat. I got maybe two more for you right here. What can you tell us about the marketing efforts with the tablets that we don't know?
So I think one huge piece that people don't realize or don't know is that we're just starting to do it. There are 2 shipping containers behind me. Like, not the actual containers, but like 2 piles of boxes that came out of a 40-foot shipping container, right? So there's I can't even tell you. There's probably 400,000 tablets behind me in the warehouse. There's a storage across the street where we have 4 storage spaces, and each one of those holds about a container of tablets. And we're slowly, we're getting them out. We're putting out pallets. They should be on Amazon soon. It's like a lot of red tape. Like, they wanted all of this documentation about the battery, and then they, like, deemed it a child's toy, so they wanted more documentation from the manufacturer. So we've submitted all of this stuff, and we've just been waiting, like, it feels like 2 months now for them to okay this stuff. So we're slowly moving along with that. We're gaining a little bit of traction. In fact, I have to just remembered I had to do something today that helped move this process along. But, it's like, just like this statement says, we don't know what will work, but something will. And I know a lot of people believe that it's like just green candles or just retail or just, I think it's a combination. I think it's going to be a lot of different things. And I just, like, I'm stoked to be a part of it. I'm really grateful that this is what I get to spend my time doing. And what else? Yeah, we're trying all sorts of things. You know what I mean? Like, I want to say thank you to everyone who supported us by purchasing a tablet. A lot of that money goes to allowing us to give pallets to people, and give them out to other charities and other places, right? Like, we've had a couple schools get a bunch of them. They've gone to what was it called? There's in Miami. It was a Miami event that was like all crypto NFT BitBasil. Is that what it's called? Yeah, that happened. They're going to be at ETH Denver. If you are going to a conference, if you live in an area where you know that there are many other hexagons and you guys want to distribute them and get a pallet out there, just let me know. Like, we're going to sell them. We're going to send them out, and we're going to do everything that we possibly can to get people's attention, right? And I leave them at Tesla chargers. Like, every time I'm done charging, I put one at the charger that I'm at and just, like, keep going. So, you never know who you're going to affect or who's going to look into it and be curious about it and then buy in. So I really strongly believe that this is actually a really great marketing tactic. I equate it to when realtors used to send out like writing tablets. You could like put them on your fridge and it was just there and you would just see it. To me, this is going to work in tandem with everything else. It's not like the tablets are going to convert a bunch of people and the tablets are what's going to bring everybody in. I don't think that was ever the case. I don't think that was ever the goal, right? I think it was more to bring awareness for someone around their home that they're constantly seeing the logos, right? It's just one of the touches that's going to bring people into this ecosystem when we have the green candles, when retail comes in, when Richard's back in streaming, right? Like rent end.
Exactly. Yeah. Feel free to like say that you're not allowed to answer if I ask you something you're not allowed to answer. But very curious about like the plan as far as operations on getting these things distributed. Is it well? You have a list of addresses of people that you are going to mail these to, or are you guys going door to door and just dropping one off at like every house you see? Like, what's the organization around that?
All of it. We're doing all of it. Like we originally started out with the US Post Office and we were sending these out in mass to various zip codes. And that ended up getting all kerfuffled because the US Postal Service does not understand what Ethereum, Hex, and Pulse Chain are. And they accused us, they basically stripped our nonprofit status because they are saying that we're working in conjunction with other companies. And I'm like, it's software, yo. Like, it's not a company, it's software. So, you know, there's no Hex headquarters, there's no CEO of, you know, Ethereum, right? Like, these things are open source, free to use for everyone software products. And you know, like I'm fighting that battle, like trying to get that switch. The bummer part is that they were classified a certain way when we were sending them out that way. And it looks as though because of the rigidity, is that the right word? The rigidity of the tablet, we're not able to send them out in mass like that anymore. So that's why I'm trying to get pallets out to other people. Because once we get a pallet out to a certain city, like you can take it and you can do not put them in people's mailboxes. I have to keep warning people about this. That is a federal offense. You can throw it on someone's porch, though. You can paperboy all day long and throw these things out on people's yards. Go to Beverly Hills. Well, actually, we sent some to Beverly Hills. So maybe not Beverly Hills because they already got a bunch of them. Sorry, let's see this thing in my hair. I can't just see it. Okay, thanks. So, you know, if you know of an affluent neighborhood, if you know of a techie neighborhood, if you know of a place where people might be interested in this, again, if you're going to a conference, if there's, you know, some place where these people congregate and you think they might be interested in it, take tablets with you and put them there, you know, mail them yourself to people that you know or people that I accidentally sent a whole box of them to Drake. I did. Because I had a Hexagon that was like, hey, here's my address. Send me a box. I'll send them out to these people, Drake included. And he gave me Drake's address, and I accidentally sent the box to Drake.
I see a goodie bag out at his concerts now.
I hope so. I actually think I should write a letter and just like, hey, Drake, you got a box.
Exactly.
I hope you like these. Give them out to your fans.
It looks like we did get some questions in here for you. First one comes from Hex Wizard 369. He says, SJ, can I buy a pallet of tablets?
If you want to buy a pallet of tablets, I'll let you buy a pallet of tablets. You know, we can talk about that offline. Like, basically, that would kind of be a donation thing. Like, I'm trying to just get them out, and we're selling them, we're giving them away, we're doing all that we can. And I've basically told a lot of people, like, if you can help me cover shipping cost, that's super helpful. If you want to help with more than that, obviously, like, all of that money goes kind of back into the program, and we're just like recycling and getting these things out all over the world. To be honest, actually made a contact where we're going to be able to send several boxes to Europe only at this point, unfortunately. But nearly any European country will be able to get a few stacks of boxes at a decent rate. So that's something that I'm looking into. But hex splits are just, DM me. I'm the same at on all of the platforms. I'm sure you know how to get a hold of me, and we will chit chat about that.
All right, so they can reach you anywhere, Instagram or X to get it onto the tablets. Okay.
Yep.
Got another question here that I think probably be directed at both of us here. ESA asks, how long do you think it might take for all the macro things to go into good for alts to go up? Well, I certainly got an answer for that here, but everybody's heard my answer a bunch of times. So I want to turn it over to you, a wild SJ. I know that like you're hopeful in general for the long term, but I don't really hear you talk about time frames, and I imagine it's like, you're hopeful no matter how long it takes. But if we hold a gun to your head and we say you got to give us a time frame, like with that in mind, how would you answer ESA's question?
I am hoping that in the next 3 months, something magical happens. Some force of some force of God comes along. Maybe the stimulus checks is a thing. Like maybe that actually happens. Like I think that could really. I mean, is that still a thing? Do we know?
I mean, here's what we do know about that is that this is the year of the midterm elections, and it does not look good for the Republicans.
Yeah.
It does not look good for Trump. He really doesn't want to be a lame duck for his last 2 years of his presidency. And he really doesn't want to have the opposing party in control of the House and Senate, because then impeachment proceedings may be coming back and all that lawfare that they pulled on him might be coming back as well. So he has every reason in the world to want to bribe voters with goodies and free stuff and giveaways. And if he's going to do it, well, this year is the time to do it. And you better get hot on it right now, because you don't have a lot of time before the midterm elections and the campaign for those midterm elections start. I mean, it's going to be like a serious crunch time this summer if we're going to get some action or some good positive action like that at all. We got to get it in by this summer here, because the campaigning for these midterms is going to start, and it's going to be hard to get House and Senate to vote on anything during that. So is it still a thing? Sure, it's still a thing, but it's a thing that carries a lot of uncertainty, like many other things, that a lot of uncertainty that has to be sorted out. So ESA, here's how I would answer your question. Is I still stick by my original theory or original thesis that Q3 of 2026, if anything is going to happen, that's when it's going to happen, just because there's way too much uncertainty with the Federal Reserve, way too much uncertainty with fiscal policy, way too much uncertainty with tariffs. That all needs to be resolved. I also think that as people start getting their tax refunds, maybe there's going to be a lot of tax refunds this year because we got a lot more breaks, no tax on tips, less tax on overtime. There's more deductions for businesses and everything. But I mean, we'll see. When people start getting their tax refunds, they'll have more money in their pocket, and maybe that's enough money for them to feel comfortable speculating and buying speculative investments like ours. What I really want to see from me, I got a stream planned for when the bull market is back on. And it's going to be one of the most lively streams that I've ever done. Be doing a lot of stuff on that stream that I wouldn't normally do. All right, so when it's back on, you guys will know. Yeah, I'll just tell you exactly what I'm going to do right here. I'll be on my stripper pole, and I will be dancing for you guys. One of my old stripper dances. All right. Matter of fact, you want a preview of that here? I'll show you a preview of it right here. A little rusty and out of shape, but I'm practicing to get back into stripper shape there. So I will be doing that to celebrate when the bull run begins, but I am not going to call that the bull run has begun until I see that money printer really humming along. I want to see at least what was the amount of? Oh yeah, I want to see at least $200 billion a month being printed. When I see that, absolutely, bull market is back on. When I see that much money being printed over, I see all 4 central banks all across the world, not just the Federal Reserve, but also the ECB, the Bank of Japan, and People's Bank of China. If they're all printing like they were in 2021, well, absolutely, this bull market is back on. It's just a matter of time before that money ends up in our coins. Until then, though, I don't want to give people the, oh, yes, plow in and ape in right now as they still stack your stables and DCA in. That's what I'll advise everybody right now. So I think that was all the questions that we had in the chat. So one last question for you, Wild SJ. What is it that gives you the most gratitude, even in hard times like the present?
I think that I have become someone that I'm excited to be, if that makes sense. Like, for very, very, very long, for most of my life, I didn't really understand who I was. I didn't see myself the way other people see me. I didn't view, like, I didn't understand the beauty within and without that I have. And to finally come to a place where I know that about myself and I appreciate that about myself, I feel like it was on purpose. Like, had I gone into acting at a younger age, had I been, I guess you would almost call it more vain, like more like had more vanity at a younger age, or like been more self-aware of my looks at a younger age, I don't know that I would have made it this far. I don't know that I would be in the kind of place that I am, doing the kinds of things that I am in this time, and building something worthwhile and meaningful, right? And I like just being grateful for like who I am and who I'm becoming is just it's overwhelming sometimes to me. Like I really do have a lot of moments, at least weekly, I'll have a moment where I'll just be driving usually, or maybe just waking up, and I'll just think, wow, like I'm so grateful that I'm me and that I get to live this life and I get to experience the things that I'm experiencing. And the fact that I'm here financially and thinking that way just blows my mind to think about what that's going to feel like when the 10,000x comes, or whatever, however many x's, right? But like when I have the financial abundance on top of the abundance of joy and energy and life that I have, it's look out, world. That's all I gotta say. It's gonna be. I feel like I'm starting to really be a force to be reckoned with, and I'm excited to show that to more people and to do more with that. Like I talked, a few weeks ago. I haven't been able to do it yet, but I want to stream more. I want to do more. I want to put more out in the world, and it's been my own fault, right, for not balancing work, right, with the work that I want to produce and the things that I want to put out there. So I'm hopeful that these next days and weeks allow for that balance to come in, for me to come into that kind of balance, so that I am able to share more and to do this more, to talk more about this. Because over the last few years, as I've spoken about these things and as I've been the positivity princess, right, I've had so many people reach out and say thank you, and they've been grateful to have me in this space because of the positivity that I have and because of the way my mentality is. And that, just to kind of go along with what I said at the beginning, is just to appreciate that about myself is really cool. And I'm really hopeful that sharing that more is going to inspire more people and allow more people to be like delusionally happy, like, and I say that jokingly, but seriously in a way, because it's like, if people can be delusionally sad, right, and like depressed about things, and a lot of depression and sadness is here. You're mentally wrapped up in things that are imaginary horribles. I love the way that Richard had put that. So think of things that are the imaginary amazingables, right? It's possible. You can do that. So that's,
Worry is born out of the idea that more things can happen than will happen, for sure. And I guess something that we kind of can take away from today's stream is, well, it takes a very long time to learn and figure out just who you really are and what you're really meant to do. But I think it's very refreshing and very enlightening to hear from somebody who has figured that out. And that's what I think makes you such a prized member of this community, because a lot of people out there are struggling to acquire that, and you serve as a beacon for those lost sheep. And also, you have the brightest pearly whites, and you always find a way to figure out how to show them. All right, always find a way to get a smile on your face, and get a smile on our faces as well. And that's wonderful that you are our inaugural guest on this new show, Who the Hex Are You? Coming up next week, I think we'll have 2 streams for you, because next week we have the Federal Reserve press conference that I'll be covering on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we got another guest lined up who will also be telling us a little bit about positivity, or just how to survive these turbulent markets with all of the tough stuff going on. Any last words that you want to leave us with, though, Wild SJ?
Yeah, just keep smiling, y'all, especially when you don't feel like it. Your mind is strong. And if you're having like pain mentally, if you're going through it, just try and smile. I had a yoga instructor once, like as we were going through a yoga flow, she was like downward dog. And then she said, lift the left corner of your mouth. Now lift the right corner of your mouth. And you end up smiling, this action leads to a reaction in your body. And that's powerful and important. And, if that's the least you can do that. Just keep smiling, y'all.
All right. And where can people find you if they want to see more A Wild SJ?
At A Wild SJ on all the things. LinkedIn, Instagram, Telegram, X, all of them.
There we go, everybody. Our positivity princess and the voice of Scyive, A Wild SJ. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to bring you back on, particularly when we're going to be grateful that you filled us with such positivity that you brought us to the point where we survived the bear market and came to the 10,000X that we all dream of. Thank you so much, A Wild SJ.
Thank you.
That is it for us today, you glorious degens. Smash that subscribe button to join the rebellion, and follow me on X at Reinvent Ideal for more unfiltered truth bombs between live streams. And if this was your first time listening, head over to reinventideal.substack.com, because I have a free gift waiting for you there. If you become a free subscriber, you'll get a free copy of my book, Your Parents Were Wrong, Debunking and Replacing Outdated Advice, packed with the wisdom to outsmart the system. It's absolutely free to join, so no excuses. Grab it before the suits